On our first of three episodes on high conflict and communication, we talked about some of the rules to having a really healthy, romantic even conversation, even when you're in high conflict. And told the story about John Wooden, the basketball coach. And I know I'm not like a super athlete, but this story, proven to be true, was kind of exciting for me to hear because it really puts on display the concept that I'm trying to teach with this. It's literally John Wooden would take these superstars that were just incredible high school basketball players, college basketball players. They took number one slots everywhere they went, and they finally hit the NBA. They're in their first season, first practice of the first season, and they're ready to go show off. They're ready to go and finally made it to the top. They're going to now go and try to get some rings and some awards. And John Wooden, the coach, has everybody sit down and he teaches them how to put their socks on. Teaches them to pull the socks clear up onto their toes, pull the socks clear up off of their heels. And then he teaches them to put their shoes on and then teaches them how to tie their shoes. And he tells them to clear out everything they think they know about putting their socks on and putting their shoes on and tying their shoelaces. He says, I want you to sit there and to clear your mind of everything you think you know. I'm going to coach you in these very important steps of socks, shoes, tie your shoes. Why would he do that? When asked, Wooden said that those little things are what matter the most. When you're out there playing a really close game and you get a blister on your toe or on your heel or your shoe comes untied, that could lose the game. That millisecond of what you do when you don't stop as fast when you've got a blister on your toe, it's just a millisecond not fast enough. That might throw the game. And so Wooden was interested in those little tiny steps, and he had them work their socks, shoes, and tie their shoes over and over again until they were proficient at it, and then moved them on to the next level, and then the next level, and then to championship after championship. So if you think about your relationships through that lens, so many people came to my counseling office over the last 35 years, and we would jump right into let's talk about the marriage and negotiate conflict and things were not working. Over and over again, couples would feel good in my office. They would feel great. And then they would leave my office, they would go out into the community, and they would literally fall apart. It would blow up. Then they'd come back week after week, year after year, only to feel good in my office for a couple of hours and then to go out into the world and then go right back to pre-office hour behavior with each other. And in analyzing that, it became obvious that the manner of communication in my office with my help coaching worked. And then they would go out and communicate how they always communicated out there. So we didn't drive home the basics of communication, like put your socks on, pull them off your toes, off your heel, pull your shoes on, pull them nice and snug, tie the laces with a double knot at top, just the right amount of tension. We didn't go over those basics. The basics that were missed so often is people would go out of my office and have a monologue where they'd lecture each other. He would have a monologue, and whoever was the most talky would like win a bunch, and then the one that was the most stonewally would win a few, and then they would over talk each other, but just a series of monologues, rarely even on the same topic, and those couples would just fall apart. They would not talk one at a time. They wouldn't stay on one topic at a time, and they wouldn't use conflict as a means of getting closer, a closer connection. They wouldn't use conflict as a means of finding out more about their partner romantically. They would use conflict as a way to win the next fight and feel good for a minute because they won. And so it was a game of win-lose, and the way the marriage worked to stay alive and not just fizzle into divorce would be to have pretty clear equal wins and losses throughout the course of their life, and they would just carry on. Now you can see that's a losing proposition for both. If one of you wins, you both lose, is the adage that we hold on to. So the three main steps to a romantic dialogue, and we're going to hit each one of them in episode 2 and 3, is number one is mirroring. And so when you mirror someone, you don't mimic them. That's not mirroring is not mimicking. What mirroring actually is the ability to restate in your own words your understanding of what your partner said. So if I say, I I don't like when we overspend at Walmart, or I feel sad when I feel all alone doing the chores around the house, or I feel frustrated when we spend more than we bring in. So if I make those statements and my partner responds with, okay, so what I hear you saying is that there's overspending happening and it's got you frustrated. Or what I hear you say is that you're doing more than your share of the chores, and maybe even feel like you're doing all the chores. Am I right, or do I misunderstand anything? You see, a couple that does that gain deeper insight. That's mirroring. Then you got validating. Now remember, validating is not the same as agreeing. Validating is just validating. Validating is when you say, okay, the way you're looking at this does make sense. So the way you're looking at our division of labor on chores makes sense. I can see your point. And so notice I'm not agreeing or disagreeing. I'm just saying I get it. I get what you're saying. If I saw it through your eyes and I'm sitting with you, I can see how frustration would kick in. I can see how hurt would kick in. And then empathy is the third skill. So mirroring is putting your socks on. Validating is making sure your socks are just right on your toes and heels. And then empathy is to tie your shoes right. And empathy is the skill of being able to put yourself aside for a second in a very unselfish way and listen through the eyes of your partner. How would that feel for your partner were you they? So think through that lens of, well, that shouldn't matter, isn't very empathetic. I can feel how deeply you feel that frustration of overspending and how that must feel that you need to go work harder all the time, and maybe you're on the edge of burnout, and that's got to be really hard for you. So it's a way of like walking in their shoes, feeling what it feels on their feet. And so many of you try to look at the other person's comments through your lens, and it might not matter to you what what they're feeling or what they're thinking, but it matters to them. It looks this way to them. So if you can, maybe just for a conversation, practice not looking at it through your eyes. Practice looking at it through their eyes. Okay? So those are the three skills. Now, what we want to do is practice taking the time out of your schedule so that you can do these skills, so that you can take time to have romantic conversations. And literally, it's where one person is speaking and another person is actively listening. We're going to go into detail into both of those um, roles that you'll play in a conversation. You'll take turns being the speaker and the listener. And the key is you only get to do one at a time. You can't be both the speaker and the listener, and the other one just sit there. That's a monologue. Literally, it's take one conversation, one topic, and take the time out of your schedule to do it. Now, so many of you are time starved, and so there's no time in your relationship to do a conversation because you're going to see that it is going to take time. So I suggest you stop watching TV. I suggest you stop scrolling through social media and donate all of that time. There's an average out there of 6 to 12 hours, some of you 4 to 12 hours a day, even um, 6 hours a day on social media. So consolidate all that time and just take 2 of those hours and have a conversation every evening. Take 2 hours twice a week, whatever it is. Don't take 3 minutes and just do a monologue because you're just going to be a bully then. Okay. So you have to take the time. You have to have a topic, one topic at a time. And let's say you've got 3,000 topics on your mind. You take one of those at a time and have a conversation about it. Okay. So we spoke a minute ago about mirroring and about validating and about empathizing. And then we take a moment and realize that there's a speaker and there's a listener. And so when the speaker is speaking, the listener is going to actively listen. So we're going to give you the rules to being a good speaker in these conversations. Okay, now really, being the speaker is a really heavy half of the success story of conversations. Okay, these, no matter how high the conflict, if the speaker of the conflict can be um, really conscious of how they're going to word things, how they're going to prepare to spell things out, then the listener can have a much better chance of mirroring back what they're hearing, validating, and empathizing. Okay? So I want you to remember that it's super important that as speakers and listeners are doing their job, both understand that the other one gets a turn to do what you're doing. And so when you when you jump into a conversation with someone and you're the speaker, if you're the first to go, you choose a topic, okay? So the speaker will say, okay, I've got like 400 things that have built up over the last 20 years. And I'm going to like unload all of those 400 things. That won't work. And I know you want to take a shortcut and I know you hope it'll work, but literally you've got to do one topic at a time. And then when you swap places, when the listener then becomes the speaker, they're obligated to discuss that one topic that the speaker brought into the conversation that wants to have a solution to. And we'll walk through how that looks. So the speaker's instructions, all right? Remember, all of you that are speaking to your partner, no matter how high the conflict, it is not a monologue. It's not a you do this, you do that. It's not a blaming monologue. Monologues are the failed dialogues. Like you'll just never get anywhere. The other one will tune out or they'll just cut you off and talk over you. So you have to take the time, choose one topic, and then you have to share your story as the speaker. This is your story, not your partner's story. So I would suggest right at the very beginning, make an appointment. I know that sounds official, it sounds dry, maybe stale, but there has to be a couple of hours, and you might not use the whole couple of hours, but carve out a couple of hours. I know there's people out there right now listening to this that is saying a couple of hours, that's impossible. There's no way I can take a couple of hours. And I guess I want to tell you that if your marriage isn't worth taking a couple of hours twice a week or 1 hour 4 times a week, if it's not worth that, then you might as well call lawyers because you can't just tell the other one to change and stop their behavior because you said so. I know a lot of you think you can. I know a lot of you think you should be able to. Like you said over the last 10 years that you would be nice and you're not nice. Yes, I am nice. I mean, you want to do that more, you can. Or do you want to take ownership and be accountable for your story, share it, and then really listen as your partner takes accountability for their story, and then create agreements together that are covenanted, that are beautiful? If you want that kind of romance, you have to put time in. So many of us put time into our careers, into our kids, into our hobbies, and we neglect our marriages. And if you do that, you're just going to fail. So here I want to tell you, make an appointment, set a couple of hours aside, and and then literally prepare one topic that you're going to share from your lens, from your viewpoint. Okay, so you've got an appointment, and by the way, you can go up to your partner while they're, reading the news, or while they're watching some. Say, hey, could we talk for an hour or two? And if they say, oh, right now it's just getting late and I'm going to be tired, could we do it? And then set a time. There's any number of ways, but just somehow connect with each other for just a moment and set a time. It could be right now, it could be tomorrow, but make an appointment. Go to that appointment with a clear statement of intention, okay? Begin with a statement like, what are we going to talk about? How are we going to share this information? I want you to know that I'm sharing this with you because I care about our relationship is so much better than I want you to understand how I think you are acting. Okay, I want this to be a discussion where we decide some things together. Can you imagine starting a conversation with, You make me so mad that I can't believe you're so rude and I can't believe that you do this or that. Versus, look, I want to talk about something that has to do with our relationship. And I want to do this because I care enough about you and I love you enough to try to make this work so much better than it is. And I just want to have a discussion so we can decide together how to get that done. So you come with a statement of intention where you really are able to share that you want the marriage to work. You want them to be happy as much as you want yourself to be happy. And then you'll be able to start. Okay. So as the speaker launches in to the topic, there's an intentional topic chosen, and it's a topic that has a lot of meaning, I'm sure. It's a topic that has a lot of passion, but there still needs to be some self-control on the speaker's part in sharing the topic. For example, if I share a topic for 20 minutes and then need my wife to mirror back to me what she heard, she's probably going to hit a bunch of points, but not all of it because I talked for 20 minutes. So pause periodically, check in. It's okay to say, when I see the division of labor in our house, I feel like I do way more, and it's frustrating to me that I don't have time to like look at the kids' social media and see what they're up to on Facebook, and I don't have time to do the things that I notice it looks to me like you're doing. And so could we talk about that? If I say that for 20 minutes, it's just going to like, and if I say it four different ways, I'm just going to burn my partner out. But if I stop there and say, does that make sense? Could you help me see if you understand what I'm talking about? So pause and check in. Now, the listener can also say, hey, just 1 second, let me just make sure I understand what you just said. So either the speaker can pause or the listener can ask for a pause. The other thing the speaker needs to do, if you're the one sharing an issue, stay focused on one issue. So many people believe that there's connections to these tentacles of issues that are like 300 issues deep, all about the division of labor, all about how we connect with each other, all about. And so by the time the dialogue is done on the speaker side, there's too many issues on the table again. So stay focused and avoid rambling down side roads. Avoid the 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 pull to bring in three other things, and it's almost like you're building a case. So speakers, if you find yourself building a case to be right, you're going to fail. So stay on the one topic, stay focused, pause and check in, and use I statements. So I statements, I know everyone knows about them. But so many times the I statement is, I think that you do this wrong. I think that you don't care about me. I think that based on what you said yesterday, I feel like you don't care about me at all. And really think about it. I feel like you don't care. It's not even possible. I can't feel what my wife cares about. I can't feel like you're mean to me. I can feel persecuted. I can feel like I'm being punished. I can feel a lot of things. I can feel sad. I can feel happy, but I can't feel what you're thinking. I can't feel what you're doing. Does that make sense? So I statements are not I feel you or I think you. I statements are really I statements like I feel dismissed when you cut me off. I feel dismissed when I believe I get cut off. So I statements are super important. I statements make you accountable. It's vulnerable. You have to be accountable for your feelings. You cannot be accountable for your romantic partner's feelings. So those I statements are going to be really important. So really practice as a speaker talking for yourself, not judging your partner's intentions. Now, some of you will say, but yesterday he said that he didn't care about my feelings. So I know he doesn't care. Well, what if he said that flooded? How many times have you been flooded and angry and blurted stuff out? Or what if yesterday, during that moment, he didn't care about your feelings and he was rude? Well, what if this morning he woke up with a fresh look and he really has a deep concern for your feelings? Would you like to give him a chance or her a chance to change? I quit smoking yesterday. Today I get to be a non-smoker. I get to. That's my right. And so I can relapse. I can repent again. I can do every second of the day. Now, I get that can be tiresome, but wouldn't it be nice to have someone in your life that allowed you to have a little roller coaster now and again and to make mistakes and clear them up? Wouldn't that be nice to have that kind of conversation? So really, I statements and being accountable is the only way to do that. And then allow your partner to share their statements about themselves. Maintain number 6 idea for speakers. Maintain a non-threatening, non-accusatory tone of voice. So um, really, the if you say, I kind of care about your stupid feelings, isn't real romantic. So you want to check yourself. You want to check yourself and maybe even own, look, right now I'm struggling with caring. I've got to take a breath for a second. So maintain an accountability. Watch your tone and timbre count. I love you versus I love you. Different tone means different things. And so you want to make sure you're coming across correctly and understand your body language matter. If I'm going, yeah, I believe you. That's you're sending a couple of messages. So just know yourself well enough. If you can't remove the anger from your voice, it's time to take a little time out. You want to be more calm. You want to be more like in that right mood or mode to carry on the conversation. So speaker, you need to select your words carefully as well. Um, think about the global statement of you always come home, jump in the shower, and then just go do your own thing in your home office. That's what you always do. You never talk to me. You're always selfish. Do you think that's going to get you very far as a speaker? The first thing your partner's going to do is say, I don't always do that. That's not true. I can think of 3 times in the last year I didn't do that. So you just got an argument now of, is it always or is it not always? What if you say, I just feel like this sad, um, unhappy feeling that we don't connect enough. And it seems to me like you spend more time in your office than with me, and that makes me sad. And so if you choose your words carefully and if you take ownership for how you feel and ownership for how you see things, you're going to then allow them to understand you, which is a connection. And then when it's their turn to speak, they'll share their view on it, and then you'll get a deeper insight as to what they think it looks like, and then you can find an agreement. So actively reinforce, number 8 idea is actively reinforce these positive behaviors. Like when you're when you're speaking and your partner mirrors back and validates correctly and you feel really understood, like thank them, like thank you for like understanding me. That just feels really good. It feels really like better than I felt in a long time. And so those reminding and reinforcing what's working is super important. And really, at the end of your time as a speaker, pass it off to your partner. You might say something like, look, you've heard my point of view and I can tell you understand me, and thank you so much for seeing it through my eyes. Do you have some thoughts that are different than mine? Do you have some ideas about this that I need to hear? That's passing it off. Or how about you take a turn and give me ideas on how you see the situation? Somehow pass it off. And listener, you can also say, all right, I do understand you. I have a different way of seeing it. Can I share my understanding of this? And so then the speaker is the past listener. So you trade places. Now, when you're listening, there's some really clear rules to listening too. So we spoke of just a second ago 9 rules to speaking. There's the make an appointment, be intentional, like understand what topic you're going to talk about. Learn to pause and check in. Do you understand me? Pause and say, like, are you following me? Like, do I make sense to you right now? And give them a chance to mirror back and validate what they understand. Stay focused on one topic at a time. That's number 4. Number 5, to be accountable for your side of the street. I feel sad when I see us not connecting in the evening. That's me being accountable for my view of the connection. It's not you won't connect with me in the evening. You always go to your office and ignore me. That's just going to get an argument. I feel sad when I don't feel connected to my partner, my spouse. And that's you being taking ownership. Number 6, maintain a really clear, non-threatening, non-accusatory voice. Watch the tone of your voice. Watch the body language that you use. Know that it's all being picked up on by your partner. Select your words carefully. Don't use global statements. Number 8, actively, that was number 7, select words carefully. Number 8, actively reinforce what works during the conversation. Like say things like, man, it feels good to be understood. Thank you so much for that. I can see that you understand me. And then at the end, pass it off to the listener so they have a chance. Everybody gets a chance. Take turns. Don't just finish your side of the conversation and then walk away. So that was the speaker instructions. That's number 2 of 3 in this series on high conflict and healthy romantic communication.